Hey guys, welcome to the Tech Point Africa podcast. My name is Emmanuel.
I'm Oluwanifemi.
And I'm Shimgozrim.
Yeah, so how are we doing? And short versions of how you guys are doing.
How I'm doing?
Yes, how
Still
you doing?
to be decided.
Still to be decided. Okay, you?
Then let's get there.
We should not just bother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So if you're watching this, apologies for how we're looking. Well, this has been a very, very stressful Thursday, and if we're not journalists, we would just say let's just be going home and rest, and let's start the weekend from today. But we said no, let's bring every update about tech news in Africa to your ears,
your eyes.
The eyes, ears. When they say doorstep, ear step or something, it's something like that.
You need to bring Precious to.
You need to bring Precious. Yeah. But we just want to make sure you hear and listen to everything that's going on in Africa's tech space. So, and on Monday we had a very, very interesting guest, the head of marketing at Quidax, and we had a lot of interesting conversations. So just check out that video from Monday or from Tuesday rather, and let us know what you think. Remember to keep giving us feedback. And so what's been going on so far? So good. What's been going on in the tech
What
space?
has been going on actually? It depends on where you want to start from.
Where you want to start from? We have bullet points.
Okay, so let's start with UBA and Philps Consulting being investigated by the Nigeria Data Protection Bureau.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. But before we go into that, let's take a message from our sponsor and the people paying our house rent.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Abisola Adenoga, the head of business at Tech Point Africa. Did you know that you could present yourself as a reputable brand leader? Did you know that your business can get the limelight it deserves? Now you do. Using Tech Point Africa's marketing tools, we can put you in the faces of a large audience for brand awareness and thought leadership. To do this, reach out to us by sending an email to business@techpoint.africa or click on the link in the description below.
Hey guys, welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed Abisola's voice as usual. So what were you talking about?
So UBA, one of Nigeria's biggest banks, and Philps Consulting, they are being investigated by the Nigeria Data Protection Bureau, and it's on allegations of data privacy breaches. So I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, David Tunde's article on the banking system and fraud, basically on lending apps, and Philps Consulting was fingered as the person or the entity that was kind of helping some of the lending companies, some of these rogue lending companies with their operations. So one of the, like something you would have seen frequently in the article is that there was a lot of data privacy breaches. So you get money from them, and then they're sending in spam messages to every one of your contacts to get the money back. So apparently they are now being investigated. The NIBBS, they say the victims of this infringement are the ones who reported them, but let's shall not say.
Victims of this infringement are the one who reported
Who
them.
is supposed to report them?
Well, it should be them, but I mean, this was something that had already happened, and they didn't do anything all this while. I mean, it's not today we started complaining about it, but to be fair, they only really started this year, February 2022, and they've been working very hard. So UBA is not the first bank. They've investigated Wema Bank in June. They also investigated Bet Niger. So it's probably the biggest betting company in Nigeria. So they also investigated for data breaches. So it's interesting.
For one, right? I remember a conversation we had not too long ago when we were talking about the startup bill, and then Emmanuel mentioned the fact that some laws are not enforced. Why should you bring some in? Right? He mentioned the data protection regulation at that point. And it's nice to hear that the government is paying attention to what they should pay attention to, because one of the worries about online platforms or tech companies is the fact that they hold a lot of people data, user data, and the onus is on the regulators to be able to control them and tell them this is the way you are supposed to use it and give it out, right? The section that Philps Consulting and UBA PLC are supposed to be, what's the English, prosecuted, is it on or true? My legal people, I'm very sorry. It's a section that discusses taking permission to access people's credentials, right? We know that we are giving you our data, even though we don't read the terms and conditions. We understand that fact, but still, from the article that Shugozi mentioned that David Ondeyi did about giving you thinking that I will need the service of a bank. A few asked me, "Did you seek my consent?" Right. So those are the issues that should be addressed, and I'm very happy that whether it took 5 years for them to do this or whether it was longer, it doesn't matter. The fact remains that we should try to call companies to order that have access to people's documents. And the interesting thing is that Philps Consulting is not really a company that deals with users directly. They have clients that deals with users. They advise them on ideas. On ideas they should go for. They help them to execute their projects and stuff like that. So it's not like they are directly working with users, but they have data. It's this data that they are using to advise their clients. So something that is coming to my mind is probably, okay, I have a fintech idea and I came to meet Philps Consulting. I say I need a way to execute this project, and I'm not saying this is the crime. And Philps Consulting goes, "Oh, I have a data of young people that you can test your product on." Just imagine that kind of situation. Take this data set, work with it and see, let's practice on it. Let's use it as our test market before you move on to execution. Just imagine that kind of situation. That is what is playing in my mind that might have happened. So it is good that this is coming at this time, and I hope they follow through with it, and it's probably sends a signal to other companies. The focus has always been on lending companies and how they...
Do you know why it won't send any signal?
Okay,
Let me give you a timeline of events that I can recall from memory. Number one, in 2019, I wrote an article about Truecaller. Finding out what exactly they do with your data, right? And other investigations also came outside, like other articles came out, like, oh, what does Truecaller do? What does Truecaller do? Then I remember talking to an hacker or a hacker, Angry Wizard, during that time. Then few months later, or around that time, NIBBS said they're investigating Truecaller for data privacy breach. That's
sounds like good news.
And someone sent me an email a few weeks ago asking what's up with that investigation. And in my head, I was like, okay, what's up with that investigation?
3 years after.
Yeah, 3 years after. In 2021, NIBBS said it was investigating Sokolon for piracy breach. This is what has happened. So this is just another investigation. Okay, let's just hope that something comes out of it. It's good that it's happening, but in my head I'm thinking, as citizens, as journalists, what can we do to make sure that when the government announces that they're investigating something like this, what can we do to make them follow through? So this is me trying to take a new leaf from the previous me. So before we talk to Saratin Oswald, the special assistant, senior special assistant to the to the president on innovation in Nigeria, we talked about the startup bill, and he's saying there's no room for skepticism anymore, right? So the question is, what can we do? So I'm asking myself, when things like this are happening, when banks are using my data to maybe peddling my data on the black market and selling it to fintechs to test their product or whatever is happening, I don't know, but what can I do? And that's something that has been consuming my head since we've had that interview. When the government is doing something that is supposed to be laudable, that you know that will most likely not end up into anything, what can you do to make sure it ends up
So I am thinking about guys like Budget. I mean, they go around and then they make sure that every project by the government is tracked, and they put it up on social media. But I don't know how many of those projects or how many of the government agencies responsible for these projects have decided, oh, these guys are shaming us on social media. Let's do what we promised to do. So I'm skeptical that, because when you were saying it, I was thinking, okay, maybe write articles instead of just writing one and then you sit back. Maybe write several articles. But in Nigeria, shame is like a prerequisite for getting public office. Sorry, shamelessness is a prerequisite for getting public office. So if these guys are shameless, they don't care what happens, and they just know that these guys will just carry out another investigation. Is there really any hope? Is there any hope? Like, what can you possibly do? Because now the idea would have been to target the articles at citizens. Maybe if more people were aware of this, because now a lot of people are involved in all of this. Like, it's something that you see regularly. So maybe if more people found out about all of this, then they might like demand what do you call it? They might demand some form of accountability, but from the government, because I mean, it's not me that would, as a journalist, that would demand accountability. You're just one man. But we've had other people. We have guys like Serap who are constantly suing the government, and nothing comes out of it. So, just wondering, do you just maybe sit back and hope? And watch. Exactly.
Interesting. So ideally, we shouldn't spend this long on this topic, but it's raising a lot of questions in my head. But anyway, on a brighter note, that's why the sponsor of this episode is quite interesting for me, right? Whistle is like the sponsor, is sponsoring this episode, and they're doing something really, really interesting. So we're talking about ethics. We're talking about citizens holding themselves accountable, holding the government accountable. So Whistle is making it going to what you... Okay. That's a very, very useless, very useless sentence, but just hear this. Whistle is reporting crimes, reporting really, really strange incidences that shouldn't happen. They're making it worth your while, right? So you see how Lagos traffic is messed up, right? Once there's traffic, people start riding on top of themselves. I mean,
literally
start climbing themselves in Lagos traffic. They beat traffic lights, they park anywhere they like, and they stop to carry passengers. I'm talking at you, I'm looking at you, Danfo drivers, and of course some private car owners carrying people at Bega on their way back home. But honestly, a lot of messed up things happen in Lagos traffic, but Whistle is telling you that you can report these things when they happen and you get paid for it. Yes, so you have motivation, incentive to actually report people that are, say, beating traffic lights, driving with expired vehicle papers, although I don't know how you're supposed to know that, but yes, that is really, really interesting. And there's a traffic congestion somewhere, there's an accident somewhere, and people need help. Reporting it on Whistle will allow the authorities to take appropriate action. So there are so many things that you can do, but just don't take our word for it. Go and download the app right now on the Google Play Store and sign up, and make sure you report the right incidents. Don't report people that are parked in front of their houses or on their offices, but on public roads. And let us know what you think. And Apple users, very, very soon, it will soon be on your doorstep. So that's quite an interesting thing. We're talking about what citizens can do, and here's a company that is trying to make it worth the while of their citizens. So I think that's an interesting one. And I'm thinking, okay, more people need to have smartphones to be able to use that. It's an app, right? So only people that have smartphones can do that.
And citizens should be reasonable and stop reporting people that they hate.
Well,
not because they commit any crime.
I guess it's Whistle's responsibility to now investigate these claims.
Yes,
when it comes.
Yeah, that's.
They will definitely get spams. I mean, look at what happened during NSAS or during COVID, when NCDC had to I beg,
don't call us if you don't have COVID.
Yeah. So, talking about smartphones, right? I'm hearing that internet transactions or e-payment transactions are exploding right now in the Nigerian market. So, what's going on there?
So, according to NIBBS, that's a Nigerian Interbank Settlement Scheme, e-payment transactions have grown 40% in the first half of 2022 compared to the first half of 2021. So, from $345 billion to $481 billion. And it looks interesting, but they claim that this has been spurred by the COVID pandemic. And
yeah, like this time.
that was funny for me. Like,
I mean, I'm not saying COVID has ended, but that's the reason for exploding.
Yeah, in 2022. No, I don't think so. But probably they are alluding to like maybe in 2021. This was like when the spike started, and then we are seeing significant growth in 2022 possibly. I would probably need to like
it sounds valid. Well, it sounds valid because wait now, the pandemic led people lockdown.
This was 2020, remember?
I'm coming there.
Okay.
So the lockdown made more people to acquaint themselves with using internet tools and especially internet payments and less of cash and so we use that period to build a behavior. Am I making sense at all?
Yeah, you are. But
so you use that period to build
and then you build on that behavior
and you continue with it, then you're able to influence other people, because when people see that, oh, this is the current way of life, you'll be able to influence people. Like the person that sells something on your street, you've learned to start using online payments, and then you get that person to, because a number of people that are his person's customers now use that payment, the person will get converted.
Let me give you two examples.
Just tell me I'm not making.
Wait, no, yeah, I get what you're saying, right? But let me give you two examples. Number one, when I was staying at Ejigbo in 2020 during the pandemic, and I wanted to eat small jobs. I just had a craving for small jobs. I started looking for anywhere I could get small jobs online because I couldn't go out, right? And I saw the delivery fee, and I stopped. But let's just say I went forward with that and paid. That is, COVID has impacted an online transaction by doing that, right?
Yeah.
But immediately COVID ended, what did I do?
You go to the
I went to
where they are selling
it, go to buy it, and gave them cash. So yes, COVID may have influenced behavior because we had no choice.
Yeah.
But if I really want to make sure that I'm getting the right small job, come on. Come on.
Well, this is payment, so I think they say it's COVID, but I think it's due to the work that fintech startups are doing. Yes, we
ecosystem.
No,
start on that one. What are fintech
so let's look
payments?
at think about it. Who is helping you process these payments? Fintech startups, industry,
unified payments,
Team Apt, and the likes. Without them, you would probably be stuck using your cash.
But NIBBS is like the major source of all these transactions.
No. POS, is it not NIBBS that controls that too? Agency banking.
NIBBS is the major source, yes. But why are you attributing it to fintech? If you say agency banking, I actually understand.
Okay.
Right?
So why am I attributing it? Okay, fine. If I want to, there are a lot of transactions that I think it was a few weeks ago that I needed to recharge my phone, and I just realized that my internet connection was really bad. I couldn't do anything, and I needed airtime as soon as possible. So for the first time in possibly a year, I had to look for someone who sold recharge card. And I was kind of surprised and shocked to find out. And now that I think about it, I should have asked the woman how much sales she makes. Because almost...
Do you have her address? Do you know where she is? Can you trace her?
I can.
Go meet her.
I can actually.
Drag on me along.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to know, like, how have their sales been impacted since 2020? Because before 2020, people were buying airtime online, but the major way for a lot of people was getting like physical recharge cards. That's just one thing I do online. Now, a lot of the time I comfortably leave my house without cash, because I know that if I have enough money, if I'm not using the BRT in Lagos, I have to pay with cash, definitely. But if I enter both, I can pay with a transfer, or I can use my bank card. So why do I need cash? If I get into a supermarket to buy stuff, I can pay with that. Downfall, yes, I do. I have to pay with cash now. Okay. So practically anything you want to do, you go to a restaurant to eat, you have to pay with. You can't pay with either a POS or I think I've mentioned this on the podcast once, but I think it bears repeating whenever people keep on saying that there's no penetration of mobile, or that mobile money can't penetrate. I was going to buy pepper, so these big red bell peppers, and I got to where I was going to buy it, and I realized I just had like 1,000 naira, and the Malam was telling me was it 1,400? Yeah. I had two options. I'd forget it, or I go make a transfer to him. And he looked and he was like, okay, go and withdraw. I told him, no, I don't have my ATM. So is either I buy one or I don't buy at all. And so he said, oh, don't worry, let's do a transfer. And he starts looking for a friend or maybe someone that he knows to receive the transfer. Yeah. And he did it. The other day when we were coming to your house, was it over the weekend or when? The day we were coming to your house.
Yeah, weekend.
Yeah. We were able to withdraw from Imalam. Okay. He was basically a walking POS. Withdraw from him, buy stuff from him without having cash on us.
You didn't have a POS. It's not like a POS agent.
Not really. He was selling I think he was selling like pepper, stuff like that. We wanted to buy pepper again. I don't know why pepper keeps on taking me to this guy. But we wanted to buy pepper, and I asked him, "Do you take transfer?" Quickly he said yes. And these are the guys who are supposedly not educated. And I remember that week, the first time this happened, just as I was walking to this guy, I saw MTN Momo somewhere, and I'm like, okay, interesting. You guys haven't gotten to this point. So if they execute well, I don't see the reason why I have to use cash. Because when I saw the news, I was like, interesting. Hopefully this is we are gradually counting down to the days when we say goodbye cash or whatever. Because
I'm thinking of making a bet. Can you stay cashless for a month?
For a month, I can.
How much do you want to bet?
How much do you want to bet?
Have you met our CEO?
Do we make a wager now?
So first of all, I'll need a car so that I don't use.
Okay.
So that I don't use downfall. Because
no, I'm talking of a social experiment.
A social experiment,
as you are now.
Interesting.
For the next 1 month, what's today's date? On 18th. So on the 18th of September, we meet again.
Can I say cash?
For the next 4 weeks.
Don't try it. Can I game it?
Game what? What are you gaming?
So I can ask the people I live with to use cash on my behalf.
Okay,
no.
Let's move on. Let's move on. No. So you're talking about its penetration, and I understand, but I just feel like most of these transactions that NIBBS is recording are mostly cash-based transactions. POS agents, majority of what they do is withdraw cash and collect cash, right? Yeah. And those are all recorded as NIBBS instant payment transactions, especially when they settle it, right? So most of the things we talked about.
So they basically withdraw money from people and then give it to someone else. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my own skepticism, and if you are willing to take up that wager, let me know.
Don't try it.
Another thing I'm also thinking about is yes, the numbers have increased, but is it the number of people? So they don't give us these numbers, like is it total number of users or is it the value of transactions?
Value of transactions.
Either way, it still looks like it's good, because if it's value of transactions, then more money is moving, or there are more people coming in. So I think they probably need to start releasing the details of this data so that we can see.
Yeah, let's start hounding NIBBS. Yeah, let's that's true. Idea. So talking about internet and online activity. So another thing that supposedly exploded during the pandemic, but somehow Netflix is telling us that pandemic happened though, but now that the pandemic is no longer so strong, people are back to the cinema. But somehow NIBBS is saying COVID is still no problem. Yes, YouTube is up to something interesting.
Okay, so YouTube is building a system that allows users of YouTube to subscribe to streaming services through the YouTube app.
Any streaming service?
Yes.
Like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In the early stage, it looks like a competition with those streaming platforms. YouTube might have to do a lot of convincing to tell them that bring your content to YouTube. So when they watch probably trailer or to an extent on YouTube, then they can subscribe to the streaming service and they will go from there, right? So YouTube will have to convince these people that we're not trying to take your customers, because YouTube has always tried this, also tried its own hands out with originals.
Okay.
Producing movies by themselves, which is what some platforms that aggregate streaming services do. They try to escape. They don't have the budget to be producing movies, so they just bring in movies themselves and say they come and stream on them. But yeah, YouTube have been like trying their hands out on doing that. There's YouTube TV also, right? At some point. So, but for starting from this point, YouTube calls it channel store, right? Is building that system. Said soon, around this time, September, around the fall, it will start in the US before it starts getting rolled out to other parts of the world, right? It's quite interesting, right? Because the creator economy is a huge one.
It's huge. So, the question in my mind now is: so in this issue we're discussing, like, okay, when Amazon Prime launches, do I have to choose between Amazon Prime or Netflix? YouTube offering me a solution that makes me subscribe once, and I can access everything. I can access Hulu and watch Family Guy. I can access HBO and watch House of Dragons, or what's the new Game of Thrones
spin-off.
Yeah. So can I do that? If I can't do that, you're just offering me a marketplace for.
Yeah.
I need it for.
Right, it gives you option. If, for instance, you are new to the video streaming market, say you just change your status and you feel you don't want to be looking for a movie on piracy website.
Some people will never change, no matter what. I'm looking at you, one of my guys at home.
I'm just saying, okay, so you are now saying, okay, I want to try out to one of these options, right? Then there are options for you on YouTube channel store. Then you check out some of the movies and you'll be like, I think I'll go with Netflix, or I'll go with Amazon Prime. You get? So that's it.
Just to see options.
Just to see options, but it still doesn't change the fact that Netflix is trying to position YouTube is trying to position itself in the same market with other video streaming platforms. Right.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so.
And yes, YouTube has the numbers.
Oh, of course they do.
So I think other video streaming platforms should be scared in a way.
Why?
If YouTube decides to go fully into their business model.
I raise you CNN Plus.
CNN Plus.
A 2-week failed experiment.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
But then we will see.
And Google is not shy to crash something that is not working.
Yes. What do you go tell you?
Launched and crashed.
Yes, I'm just saying. I'm not. But it's still a viable competitor that they should look out for. Yeah. Right. You have millions. If not, I need to get the numbers. Like millions of subscribers that have their card on YouTube. That like their subscriptions are on rolling basis, like they don't remove it. So
but you also know that if YouTube begins to offer this, the cost of this service also goes up.
True.
Because you can't be offering it at, what are they doing? Is it 1,000 something now for the cheapest plan? That's not what they will do. So it will go up, and then I'll take my card out and we watch ourselves.
It's not even, you don't even need to take it out. Your bank will never allow you to pay.
Because you don't have money there. Okay, that's true. Oh God, if it's above $20.
Yes, and I'm tired of virtual cards. But let's just leave this issue, please. Let's leave it alone. But yeah, Bolt has left Tanzania. That's an interesting one. Let's quickly go through that.
Yeah.
What's the update there?
So Bolt in Tanzania has now gone from B2C.
So it didn't really leave.
Yeah, they didn't leave.
They're looking for richer customers.
So people are trekking, cannot order boat again.
Yes. So no matter how much money you have, you can't.
So what's the model they're operating now?
It's practically B2B. So the reason is that fares were raised. Okay. So they have a regulatory commission in Tanzania. So fares were raised, commissions were crashed. So boat makes less money, even though the drivers on the platform are making more. Now it's not sustainable for them, because how do you continue in that? Like, I don't know. It's still one more example of regulation crashing your business.
I don't think so, because both Uber, all of them, they are all having issues with their drivers. Right?
Yeah.
UK has had that issue ongoing for a long time. Then South Africa, Uber drivers are going on strike, I suppose. Lagos, they've had their issues with. So there's always too much commissions. I can't make enough. I have to write 24/7 to be able to make ends meet. And most of them are doing higher purchase. Very, very few Nigerians can afford cars. If you can check out my article about the state of Nigeria's automotive industry. But that's what happens, right? So both is saying that fares were raised, the commissions were crashed, drivers are making more money, meaning drivers were happy. Which is what the government is supposed to do. The interest of the common man.
Increased fares also mean that less people can use to afford. Because imagine you maybe
at the expense of the drivers.
Yeah, at the expense of the drivers, because it's never. So the way this thing works is sometimes maybe a focus on the customers affects the drivers, and maybe a focus on the drivers affects the customers. So Safe Border in Uganda, they decided, because of lessons learned from COVID, let's focus on getting customers to transact on the app. And all of a sudden, the drivers were like, no way, we are not doing this.
Want cash.
And then they moved out to alternative platforms. I don't know the state of Safe Border in Uganda right now, but that's one way that just something that looks very minimal or not so serious could affect you. So and I don't know, Tanzania is not necessarily the richest African country, so every increase in fare means more people fall out of the bracket that could afford it. So
so the gig economy is still up in the air. Regulations on one hand, customers on the other hand, then drivers and the companies too on the other hand. So that's an aspect of the gig economy that's still very, very shaky. Both will never agree that drivers are employees.
Yeah, because if they're employees, man, you have to provide health care plans. You have to provide retirement
I
plans.
doubt if they were able to do anything to that business model.
That would be crazy. I mean, it's interesting. More people get jobs, but the moment you start providing employee benefits to all of these guys, your bottom line will feel it.
So that's cool. That's cool. So the final story of the day: Signal.
Signal, final. So what did you do?
Signal that used to be the sweetheart of the.
Everybody was saying, WhatsApp this, Zuckerberg this. Let's go
that used to be the sweetheart of internet messaging.
Just give us what happened. I don't even want to say anything today.
What happened is that there are claims that some of their users' data were compromised. Like the data of 125 customers were phished, right, through their employees. Before I go there. So the thing is, let me just say what I want to say. Employees should be careful, because they should be careful with how they protect their login details.
Some of them were still using GB WhatsApp or something.
Or they are using 1, 2, 3, 4. You get a password, because when they are when an employee what's it called, security is breached, then they can be able to get into the main server of the company, right? So the news is that some customers' details were compromised on Signal, and it's even the company that's helping Signal to provide verification, that's providing verification services to Signal that made this claim, right? And it's funny because Signal has been seen to be like the safest of internet messaging platforms when you put WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram on the same scale. I remember
it's the internet. There's no safety. I think I mentioned it.
I get, but sense of
safety.
Yes, sense of safety. Right.
Okay.
I wrote an article in the early days of 2021 when WhatsApp was like, either accept our privacy, our updated privacy terms, or you get out of our app. And we did an online poll at that time, and many people would actually go with Signal, but they can't because most of their contacts are on WhatsApp, so they are stuck with WhatsApp in the real sense. Then we raised the issue around privacy and online security then, and well, Signal also won in that aspect. And coming to this time that Signal users' phone number and other data are being compromised is not nice to know. It's not nice to hear, and I hope they get something to do about it. But they are saying Signal is saying they've not been able to access their PIN.
Okay.
Right, because when people that do phishing, right, when they are able to access your details on one particular platform, they will be able to try to use it for other platforms. For some people that don't really like to have multiple passwords, that they are trying to keep it safe, or they are afraid that they forget their login details, they try to maintain one particular username and password on one platform. So people that do phishing, they try, when they are able to get it on one platform, they try to use it for other platforms. Say maybe they got it from Signal, for instance, then they can go and try it on, say, a payment platform or your fintech app on your phone, right? But Signal is saying, oh, don't panic, they didn't get your PIN.
Okay.
Yes, I'm hoping they do something about it. But still, as Emmanuel mentioned, there's really no safety, but sense of it.
All right. That's I don't think I have any other comments about Signal. I mean, I've said all I want to say about your privacy on the internet. It's a myth.
It is.
Yeah. Yinka's article reminds us that data privacy is most likely a myth, but it's interesting to see the regulations that are ongoing in this space, right? Europe is leading the way, and some African countries are introducing laws, and Nigeria is also doing something.
Which users are not smiling on?
Well, let's... Well, any other thing we missed? Any other thing?
Not really. What else?
Okay.
Not.
So, thank you for sticking with us till this point of the podcast, and it's been a really, really interesting one. We'd like to know what you think about NIBBS investigation on UBA and Philps Consulting. What about e-payment transactions that are exploding? Let us know what you think about the Whistle app, and if you download it and try it out, let us know what the outcome is. Then, of course, both Live in Tanzania, YouTube launching a video marketplace, even though we don't know why exactly. And of course, Signal, the private companies that
I promise privacy.
Okay, so thank you for sticking with us till now. And if you're listening to us on this podcast, wherever you are listening to us or wherever you are watching us, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, those TikTok guys, thanks for the comments. We are seeing everything. And of course, Twitter and LinkedIn. And the OG guys, the original audio guys that have been with us from the
way
beginning.
back.
Yeah. So where can they find this podcast? Who's taking notes?
Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you get your podcast from.
That was too normal, but yeah.
Yeah, we miss Bolu, don't we?
All right, guys. Take care and see you next week.
Bye.